Hello, everybody. Hello, 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 hello. How are you? Hope you guys are at your fittest. Welcome to another episode of Phoebe's Journey, and it's all about me talking about myself. And it feels good because I was doing a lot of talking unnecessarily, things that were set in place and things that are being disrupted. Things, it's as if you have things were done on this hand and things are done this way and it has to stay this way, and there's foolish testing. Now, I am not quite of a quick person these days. I It was always complained to me that, okay, somebody said, okay, you need to I was a bit younger a couple of years ago. You guys, I see you and then the next minute I see you and 10 blocks later. How do you do that? Well, I suppose I flew. But okay, calm down. So anyway, I touch my, what you call, my heart, and I say, peace, be still. And that's what it's all about. Just be peace with yourself. Now, I am tonight, I am outdoors, and there's a little breeze, and it's appreciated because sometimes it gets to a very hot degree, but most of the time it's cold because we are still in the wintertime. Anyway, I think it's gonna rain, but I had a really cool umbrella. It's like a umbrella for camping, and that umbrella was I don't know if stolen or lost, but anyway, I was able to recuperate this one here. It has some defos in there, but it's probably like something that's, I probably will never use, but I just put it in my on my back in my when I wrap up my little kind of chair thingy right here, and I walk and I get up and I walk around with that. But anyway, it seems as though it was going to rain. I was outside there where there is the locomotive, and I felt some raindrops, so I came under this what you call a shelter. Now, I'm continuing up from Phoebe's journey, what it feels like. How am I coping with my mental illness? And I guess this wraps up, or this kind of emphasize. This is the way I'm dealing with it in terms um, of I, I suppose it helps me to kind of smell myself a little more, and I suppose it helps me to deal with the access, accessing things that are universal in terms of how do I deal with the heavens, how do I deal with God, how do I deal with stars, how do I deal with the moon, how do I deal with lights, some that are brighter, some that are not, how do I deal with the garbage, how do I deal with getting to the toilets on time when I need to do my private moments. How do I deal with these stuff here when I feel like my privacy was pulled in from me and allowing me to go and experience life, because life was considered to me as a gift. Life was considered something that I should not have had, because I was one child and I did not know my dad, and I, just considered to be poor, based on being birthed in Guyana and based on being raised by my grandmother. Now, I assume that when you were raised by your grandmother and you had a mother who moved abroad when you were probably 2 years old, it doesn't feel right. But I suppose very rarely, but it did happen. There are instances where people would send their kids, leave their kids back where they were born or growing up, with a familiar family member, such as a grandparent or both grandparents, and moved abroad in order to make a better life, at least in the 60s, 70s, and that was the case. But after my mom left, it was me um, and my that brother of mine, it's actually my half brother. When he leaving us there, after 15 years, it's a strange phenomenon. So when you actually go to live with her, it's not a nice this factor. And then you have to cope with having a stepfather, and then you have to cope with having a half sisters and brothers who naturally will not appreciate you, because it's as if you're invading their home, and it's as if you're sabotaging things of a parent that's shook hands and had things going. And this is why I probably was very anal, and this is why I probably wanted to go back and live with my grandmother immediately. I think that I should have persisted to do so, but things did not happen that way, and I stayed. I don't think that there was one instant that I wanted to stay, and I guess this is why I evacuated the house at such a quick age. And sometimes when you put your kids in those situations, it makes them to hear things and to do irrational things and to go out in nature and do things that, and oftentimes, if you are of the parent that has certain qualities that was uh, birthed to them, a lot of times that child turns the other way, and instead of making decisions that were of what that mother would make decisions of what the other half, which was daddy, would make, and did not get to know him at all for those things. But miraculously or surprisingly, when that child is constantly making decisions that are weird, nobody is asking, it's probably that's the man that she is really imitating, or is that man, that father that she never see, that everything spills out from. And they're just like, my God, what is Tucson, which is my grandmother, Tucson's granddaughter is going to do today? In all cases, hearing of the voices is it's not something that is banal. It wants to become banal, but it's for something that's, when you're hearing it, it has to sound like like something that is worth listening to. You don't want to sit to listen. Now, when you have things like, for example, if you have a star that wants to command the girl's life, thinking that she needs to be dressed at 55 years old, and you don't think wants to be dressed, then you would say, give her those things immediately, because these are the things that she will do to get. So I don't know if it's a vengeful fact or if it's something that you want to stuff in hands that says stop. Now, if you are a human being, you have to respect humanistic things. Do not invade somebody's space. But if you know somebody is living a mysterious life, in other words, is the person of whom is speaking right now, that is spoken to but refuses to let anybody else know that she's being spoken to, and does not want her children to know. So what happens is, after 10 years of fanning, I don't want to deal with this anymore. So you would say, well, it's time to set her free, number one. But her nose hasn't tell her, okay, you need to go and make a proper living. There's I don't know, there's probably a place that needs to be cleaned, like working for a homemaker, or working at a garage, or working in a supermarket. Now, when you are hearing voices, you cannot tell people you're going to work in a garage, you're going to work. I mean, I had the mistake of going to work in the Walmart in Madison, Alabama, and all this time I was hearing voices, and the people around knew it, but it was a mystery. So you cannot expect her to go and work for and clean somebody's home, or do things of this to each other. This is her, the gestures and the things that she done is very personal. Now, when it comes to admitting, okay, we speak to her, then the next step is, what do you speak to her? And the next step to you is, I'm going to have to raise things of this on you, and I think this is what you're going to know, and then this on you, because this is something that is very, you don't call it biblical, you call it very light in terms of things that travels. And when these things are travels, you cannot just tell people, oh, I speak this or that, because of the way that's the way it speaks, and then the voice propels those things, and that's when they start to understand that they themselves do not understand themselves. Voila. And that's what's anal to man, and the superiority of man's man, it's anal to them also. Now, there are people that understand it, and there are just one, two, three people that understand it, and the rest zero understands it. And those are the people we are trying to keep apart from each other, and you're trying to pull yourself out of Phoebe. Now, when you're trying to pull yourself out of people, Phoebe, you would claim, when I pull myself out of you, you won't be able to hear these things. 10 years I have been fighting with these things. Leave me alone. Leave me alone. I went to Guyana, but after the wellness center, because of course the story would start on March 16th. I was admitted to the hospital, spent 3 weeks in the wellness center, was purified myself with the system's way of dealing with these things. It is called mental issue, but it's a mental issue that can be defined when you have something that it's like a needle that is constantly joking, poking the person, and the person gets real anal, and whoa, this is not going to work. I know you're poking me with that needle, and you have to stop. And by the time the end of the day, you become mental, and what you do, you chirp all day. Not yet. You kind of like put your hat on. You kind of cover yourself up, because what happened is, if you're dimming the lights of others, I don't want to know. It's not very human, and it's not very cool for the workers, for example, who comes and depends. If you're depending on these things, what have you done for those things to be taken away? And if you're messing with the feet, for example, if you're swelling up the feet, if you're trying to get to her kids, if you're trying to cause somebody that she was married to be slapped or go to the grave. I mean, if she's not bothered by that aspect, why are you? Nobody told you to take that person and put it with somebody else. And when that person decides to stick it out, then you would seek help for now you want help. When you go to the psychiatrist's office, the psychiatrist, what is your problem? Well, I did this. So what do you want me to do? Why would you do it? Well, you probably need to go and speak to somebody says go to I don't know what you're supposed to do, but you probably will be wasting time with that person. In all cases, it's a very deep situation, and I suppose the only way to solve it is to say, what is the life of this child? Why are we in a dilemma in the United States? United States, understatement, in the entire universal aspect of things. But you would say the United States is a country that is this way, and caught themselves in a very nasty scandal in terms of you have had this child's birth certificate, you have had this child's these things that these men are claiming, and you have had these kind of lightings of the child, and knows who she is from the time she was born in Guyana, and knows her mom more than her, even claims things on the mom, and claiming those same things on the feet, where you have a kind of a duplicate of things, when you're only dealing with one massive rouge factor, and that thing is coming on you, and you're feeling the pressures of it. Now, when you know this, you would say that you have to be able to pinpoint, you had to be able to recognize the things that she needed to do to be able to get her to the next phase in her life. Now, she doesn't need a babysitter. So when these things were completed on this hand, she obviously had to wait on this hand to be completed. So this hand would be, I guess, the garbage type of people, those type of people, people of that nature, people of those people, and I guess people are far away. And then you brought in the entire United States. But those are the people we were waiting for to complete their kind of life. So what you would have to do is to go and leave her alone. And when the task of finding out what they had to do or how they were going to go graze her or jam her, and then once you get that, then you would have been called back in to complete a journey on her feet, meaning that she probably had her artwork to be done. She had things that her grandmother was seeking for her to be done. All these under these massive lights, that she needed to be done, and stop seeking to see if she needed a diamond or a lighting or a pole for a railroad track or somebody to stand by her. Now, once we get to know that, then we would say that things that we were claiming tonight, you would have tried it again tomorrow and you would have tried to do it on this hand. So what this hand would have done is to remove what this hands would have done is to remove the bricks, and it's called throw it away, and then you would have been left with, I don't know, looking up to the skies. Now, when you get to that point, perhaps the covering would have been there and says, no, keep your head low down instead of dealing with your own stuff. Now, Phoebe has made the decision based on the United States not recognizing that it's a massive adventure. I'm probably going to talk about my Siamese on the next episode. This hand has been completed, and just in case you guys decide to get into things of these nature, say when I fall asleep for about an hour or so, we can deal with the next recording. I will talk about Siamese and I will show you aspects. Now, it means that my hearing of voices does affect the nose based on the rouge, because if I don't get certain things together, or if I don't you guys are seeking for me to help neighbors, you guys are seeking for me to help homeless people, and when you're done getting the information, you make the person's life impossible. So you would actually these are I'm probably close to the airport, and right now there are airplanes that are taking off every 5 minutes. Whoa, every minute there's an airport that's taking place, and they are very loud, so excuse the noise. And I'll try to do better the next time. I was on over there, but it's probably not going to be better because they're constantly to get more and more airplanes getting out of Atlanta area. Now, you're seeking for me to help homeless people. You're seeking, and this is why I'm basically in this kind of area. I was in San Francisco, I was in Santa Rosa, California, I was down there in Los Angeles. See a lot of homelessness and the situation where you're at. Not familiar, because this is not what my domain is. And now when I'm in Guyana, the area that, of course, where my grandmother lives, there are people living on that property, so I probably would in and out there, and I'm probably not supposed to be in New Amsterdam at all. So I'm mostly at Perica, where there is the branch of the where's the branch of the Essequibo River and the Demerara, and then where there are boats in and out. Very shaky, meaning that I suppose, based on the earthquake that took place in Turkey, it's probably right there waiting, because the plaques are doing this, they're flapping. And then we have the part of the Demerara, which is in Frieden Hoop type, it's doing this way. So it is not, probably not very safe right now. And And I suppose it's not very safe for the nose either, but the nose is being sent there because it's raining right now. I was kind of okay. I call it probably lucky to say there's a little shelter here. I know in San Francisco I was drenched because I didn't have a proper place, and then I picked up some fleas in Santa Rosa. These fleas were practically all over me. I mean, my skin is like completely, it's very delicate right now. Oh my gosh, it's like on me. And San Bernardino also, lots of homelessness all along of the California coast. I suppose even going up to Seattle, homelessness is taking place, and people are feeling more and more short and short and short. Instead of, I guess these ways, it means that you're lacking these things, and you're getting to the point where you're seeking. If you're seeking those things, you would you would probably lose what you know best of Phoebe, is um, you will be probably losing things that are very lighty in yourself, and probably considered okay. Do we seek? Well, those are episodes that will come up the road. And today, yesterday, I probably recorded a super episode which should have been out today. I mean, this should have been going on for years, allowing you guys to know what is actually going on in his head. It was not an easy task because 24/7 hearing the voices. When I get up in the morning, I probably should have looked up and says, "No, I cannot receive you." Now, meaning that morning, that when I was sleeping, when I came off the wellness center, the voices calmed. It came in, but I sense now that it came straight into my belly part, and you guys probably laid this way. It must have been really hard for you guys. I don't know. Humans are asking how did they make it for that year, and I probably can tell you a little later, but in all cases they probably were lacking lights. So when they actually came out, they were nicer. And then they probably said she's needy, let's get mad. Needy means that once you start speaking in his ear and you cannot give it to somebody, and you had a really terrible experience in the wellness center, you're saying, when I tell somebody, they're not going to believe me. Well, I would tell. I guess I told it to that mother, and she was like, "Well, you have to whip it out." So I said, "Okay, let's get a pole and whip it out," but it's still there. And others would say, well, you probably have to speak, or you probably had a terrible upbringing. And I don't think that my grandmother would appreciate it after having me in church every Saturday from the time I was born. And the aspect of doing things like these is very timely. You have to go quickly, and it gathers you. I don't know, a sort of, it probably tells you, okay, you need to stop because it's not going to end up really nicely. Now I'm going to hurry up because I only have 30 minutes to talk to you guys. Now, when I was still sleeping, I don't know. I did get up, went back to bed, and then suddenly that little voice, called me by what AKA Pinky, but my real name is Phoebe, and informing me that people are outside enjoying life, and you are still sleeping, and it's pretty probably not cool. Anyway, whoa! But it was very clear to me, so I got up. And there it is. This voice followed me 1 year later after I experienced the awakening of these voices in my ear. And that's when it took place in the kitchen. It kind of threatened me in terms of my daughter, saying I have a text to give to her. And where's the text? It showed me the cupboard that was in. I did not trust it. Anything that comes, I guess I was kind of keen on that, but it kind of assured me that we will be talking to you and we will know how to say stop. But it wasn't working after a while, and when I keep pushing them away, they keep forcing themselves on me until I experience things that are not well. Just say that the lights of my heart kind of became very non-lighty, and I expressed some things on the internet which is not it besides me, and it's kind of a cry for help when I was doing that stuff, to say, please people, leave me alone, get away from me, I am not doing well, and you guys are not used to me using words that are very bitchy, cursy, that ignorance and attack. Well, you call it, say, telling them stop coming after me for this kungsi. Now, once that was discovered, based on my children, you would say things rattles. Okay, get away, go away, leave this woman's descendants alone. We know what we have done, and we know that it's only her, and her grandmother knows it's only her. Now, was I prepared for it? Apparently, I was, based on, I was considered, I was considered dreamers and visions, meaning that not so much visions at the time, but a lot of dreams. The minute as I lay my head, sometimes I went to bed very, very late in order to not experience those dreams. And dreams of all sorts of things, but the ones that are really bad came to pass, such as crashing me, such as lifting the foundation of my home, such as I guess cursing me out. You go to the extent of molestation, and you go to the extent of dimming of the lights also. And when you get to that point, you're no need of a God, and you're no need of trusting it, but you're no need of dealing with people's issues. So the push was, I want you to get out there and help homeless people. I want you to get out there and talk to people. I want you to tell. It's constantly seeking for you to be able to be boisterous with people. And I guess people are not in the mood for that. Well, I certainly am, but I don't like to talk to you anyway. I prefer using my mic, and that's what I was endowed with after all these years. And I sure have intentions of using it, except when you try to sabotage my instruments, of which, I misplaced my brand new computer, my Apple computer that I took to Guyana, came back without that computer. So I guess they'll try to fix that part. And my iPad, which was that was misplaced, I'm not sure where. And then somebody broke the iPad again, had to get it to Apple, and that wasn't an easy task of getting a new one. And then my storage is always quite acting up. So in all cases, I'm hoping that this video was well recorded, so I don't have to start again. Now, it's the voices. I consider the voices not bad. When I spoke to somebody, I guess I spoke to a radio show host, and the person that seeked me out, and because the person's asking about, well, I hope it's not bad. Well, it wasn't, so I can actually push my glasses in, and what I later on I did experience what's considered not so good things, like putting her in the garbage, things like seeking her out for suicide, things like testing her out for other human being. It's a really um, go away situation where you seem to cannot get rid of. So when you cannot get rid of, you kind of start running from the things that you like to do. But it led to a separation, it led to a divorce, and I find peace in those things. But I don't like being away from my family, and I don't like being away from my daughter. I don't like being away from my son, and of course, I don't know. The people in Atlanta are very loud when they're driving their cars. I don't know if their mufflers need changing, but they'll see about that. Now, and of course, I have a little granddaughter that is growing up. Now, um, I kind of, I am not a kind of a nosy person, or person, so I don't kind of get into like people's business. I don't quite get into I don't like to use the words, but after hearing voices and the things that they talk about, it's important for me to be able to express myself that way. I do not get into white people's business, but I don't get into black people's business either, and I don't get into ethnic business no plus. But it seems to we seem to have a clash of those things, clash of these lights, clash of these type of thingies that that says that we need to be when you're talking about hearers of who she is, we need to own her. For example, we need to swipe to see if we own her, and if we do not own her, then we will have to give it over to the right authority. So they would say when that is done, then it's another anal situation, and then they would go. Now, I would say take a little blonde child and says give it to that black family there and say own that child and put it to do all of your work and see how you feel about that. And then we can talk. Now you would get a stop right there because I suppose the lights are starting to understand that we are not living in slavery. I think I've heard that. And we are not living in a time where you can point to somebody and tell somebody, I can sense that you need some peace in your heart. Your peaceful dispositions of such, sometimes you cannot handle it. But you would say if that person's character or personality deranges you much, then you probably have to stay away from that person. I suppose there's a lot of homeless people that you can make friends with besides the one that seeks to be in your back door. Now, personally speaking, I probably wouldn't seek to be friends with a homeless person. Why? Because my nose isn't geared that way. And a lot of times, those who are, they're hiding in their homes and allowing that person and still wants to be that person's friends. Now, when you're talking about teaching somebody without actually paying that person what you're asking for, it becomes very provocative. So when it's provocative, you just get on the socials that we have today and emphasize this is not going to work. You have to be able to pay that person, especially when that person is of a certain messenger type and not a prophet. And these people would understand that prophet is a very dangerous type of person because a prophet, for example, the prophet in the Bible swallowed that scroll and decided that I'm not going to speak of these foolishness because you guys do not live up to your word. The heavens is not predictable at all. It's like the rain, is it predictable? You could say yes, but the sun, is it predictable? No. So you would say stop right there based on if you see things in the background, for example, you would say, I see what's bothering her. That is not. For example, I'm dealing with feet that are swollen, and I'm dealing with things that are kind of itching on my feet, creating swirls, or trying to say, I'm going to have to live her spirit. I don't like that. All I like to know is you are going to leave me alone or you need to speak with me and my family and we need to know what's going on. That's the only thing I want to know. Now, when the entire universe knows, when the entire poop knows that, can it still work? See, based on the screwings of the head of them, like you are doing to the mother, because she's been claiming things. She has been claiming things of which are not, it's, I would say, of which are not very conformed. For example, Phoebe, her has, say like she has two kids. She has a granddaughter. Her son is married, for example, and she could be claiming that I want to own them. So you would say, okay, this is what I'm going to do. There's a precinct up the road, and I think I will go and say that I probably can say I think that I have a problem with that mother for the hearing of my voices, and she's claiming that she wants to own Phoebe. So she would say, well, I would tell the police that you hear things that are very uplifting to go to church. I said, well, this mom has never went to church. Every time you turn around, she's home and listening to Swaggart, and he's a Sunday preacher, and her mom raised her as a Sabbath preacher. So she would probably seek other kind of friendship from her kind of first cousins type of thingy. And this is something that she should have done years ago, or should have done before she had left Guyana. Let's I don't know if she goes to God or prayer and say, these are the people that I want to be, instead of seeking to live under her, I don't know, you can say crutch. But if we're emphasizing on friendships, do you seek that route, or do you seek her children's route? And why would a mother seek not to have friendship with the children, the daughter's children, to herself? And I think the suggestion is because they think that it punishes Phoebe. And I said, that's the case. That's why you would consider Phoebe to be mentally ill and then hang up. Now, if that mother has the possibility of putting you in a psychiatric situation and can do it, then you would hand yourself over to the psychiatric based on what she chooses and based on what she would pay to keep her there, and live in there, and then call her family and says, this is when you could come, but you're not ever allowed, and whatever is of you can go away. Now, I guess once that's emphasized, then I guess those people would seek her to be whatever they're calling her to be. Fine, I don't care. I would, at least, because you challenge the police, and when the police says, okay, I don't want to be able to accuse, I don't care if you don't want to accuse. That's not the problem. If the police come to somebody who's 55 and says, you probably need to see a thing based on the voices you hear, and Phoebe would probably say, well, you probably not need to touch those type of currencies anymore. And so what happened is that person would probably be very anal with the ecosystem of the universe, and it's probably not going to pass well. Now, can that particular police contact? They can, and when they roar with their voices based on Greek, they can say, put the person who seeks that route. But she probably had to do it for those people to say that they have moms who would like to put their children in those places. Now, that person didn't raise Phoebe, so that person should not have those kind of ideas. So it's troublesome for the people who participated in this task or talent. So they fit to be out. But every day you're hearing everybody gave up, but you have all new a lot of homeless people are seeking those things, and a lot of people, homes around, are seeking those, so they would learn to keep out, because they know the detriment of the people who you gave this to losing. Now, I am not going to get into this part of who's supposed or supposed to not, but just as long as it doesn't affect me hearing things, or it doesn't affect my feet from walking. Now, it means that some people are concerned, I guess some people are concerned with diseases, and diseases are things that does these things to Phoebe. Now, when you guys would have put what you call the aspect of the zodiac, you didn't measure out the difficulty of the length of time that it would take to take it out of her. Why? Because of certain things of the Greek mythology. But you would say that that one can have it. So when it can, then we would have the Greece pulling Phoebe out and seeking the institution that's seeking her, and putting it in pose and giving it out to the people around her, because oftentimes it was set up for just surrounding, so she doesn't stick around too long. Now, I guess it's designed to say, I have a lot of help from this ear tonight, because the recording that I did yesterday was strictly mine, and sometimes it will happen when you guys are very nasty. Now, that's meaning that the voices that I get, it all comes this way. So the ears of Phoebe are basically always clear of hearing things that she can pick up from different parts or parties, or from different lights or sources that are around. And what are sources? Sources are basically things of these. Now, when you carry these things, they are basically sources. When you do this part, this part, it's a major source that sends uploads quickly. Now, I do carry these type of glasses, but I do change them when I kind of get out of this environment. Um, and the glasses are things, it flips, it normally should be flipping people, but as I grow these things will occur, and it's informational. It gives me information, like instead of it's a visionary thing. Like it gives me a specific information. Later of the road, it can be very direct and very shocking and very tremblement, I mean earthquakey. And these parts here are basically what uploads the information to Phoebe, and she gets it to here. I guess it's a heck of a protection, meaning that when different aspects of the universe is able to, how does she able to get that and transmit it? It's through her vocals. A lot of times the Lanks used to sit here and it wasn't a very pleasant experience. Or the orange, when I say the Lanks that slipped out, I'm not ready to speak about those come later on. But you would say, can we talk about the star? No, but you can talk about a bomb, a bombs, or the bombs of the three can probably um, and understand her a little more without being able to interpret these things yet. Now, when they see me with a hat, they're very troubled. Why is she? Well, she's supposed to be nicely made up. She's supposed to have combed her hair. Those things, she's not having access to these things. And she seeks the aspect of the airport where she gets to plug in to keep her instruments plugged in. And she, when she needs the bathroom, oftentimes I have to sneak out. I did grow up with what you call a latrine, so those are the things, especially when it comes suddenly, you have to. And oftentimes I did make mistakes, and I normally don't. I am not 80 years old non plus, but I have tendencies of um, uh, using things of these to give me certain information if people wants to test again how you pee in people's faces. Now, these things that are from these type of sources are people that are low class. People are downright down bottom people who got no sense and say they're running businesses or seeking help for themselves. So you just have to emphasize those are not things that are appropriate to do. Phoebe is always in a place that is very sacred. In other words, cachet, so that these things are not, when you have um, homeless people all over, you do have to think of things of these things happening, and you have to think of where they will go and eliminate these what you call toxins from your body. Now, when it comes to how these things are encrypted, I guess it is encrypted this way. These are the way they're like this, like telepathy type of situation. So the the only type of people who can actually get to interpret these things are of Phoebe and her descendant line. But just say for the moment, they will be kind of restricted from those things, especially when there was a passerby, and allow now, Phoebe's grandmother is her grandma. Normally speaking, the grandma was supposed to be allowing her to wear. She has just one side. The other one, I lost it being in the outdoors. Don't know where it's at. Allowed her to wear earrings and to be able to. I guess the church politic is shaky. You don't quite find these things in the Bible, but they are to be respected based on your culture. Now, a lot of times, based on these things, she was furnished with these things as compared to others. I suppose this is why things of different categories would call her a little ungodly, but apparently they said they know her heart. But if you did, you wouldn't be doing these I mean, it's a shame to have to show this to your family. The way these, it's worse than bites and sores on your feet. Now, the chopping of the head, it's an understatement, but I can still do this part. What I did, I just got a scissors and tuck tuck tuck, and when you see me one day, you would see it very lengthy in terms of taking care of myself and getting myself together. Now, the time that I've spent outside, I guess it was a learning experience because when I was in France, um, life was probably practically given to me. And I guess that's the area of the universe who wants to get that part out of her because that's what they keep hearing every day. Life was given to her. She didn't